We should be on air soon. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the second episode of the HQ show. And in this show, we'll be covering the convergence of technology, science, finance, design, communication, marketing, artificial intelligence, and ethics. That's the overall theme of the show itself. And in today's episode, it's going to be more fintech focused. And I have someone from the industry with a vast experience in conventional finance as well as fintech itself. And he'd be more than happy to share his expertise with you. And after a bit of a Q&A session between the two of us, we're going to have a Q&A session with the audience. So if you want to know anything about the fintech industry in general, the fintech landscape of Pakistan as it stands right now, what are the hurdles, where we're headed, what are the opportunities, and getting more specific, if you want to learn about the organization that he represents and the vision of the organization, how it aims to help and improve the fintech landscape in Pakistan. And if you have any queries about that, he'd be happy to answer those as well. So allow me to introduce my friend Omer Salimullah, who will be joining us today as our guest. And Omer is the Chief Operations Officer at SadaPay, which is an up-and-coming fintech e-money institution. And before we proceed, I'm going to give you a bit of a background from my perspective, a bit of a background of SadaPay from my perspective as an outsider. And by the way, this show and none of my shows are ever sponsored by the organizations that I discuss. And even the last show where we had Payoneer's Country Head, that wasn't sponsored by Payoneer. This one isn't sponsored by SadaPay. So, and that's going to be the future of the show as well. We're going to be completely independent, unbiased. So, मेरा जो perspective है मैं वो कुछ share करना चाहूँगा कि how did I get to know about the organization in the first place. So one day out of the blue, well, Omer and I had been connected over social media, but we hadn't really interacted on a personal level much. One day out of the blue, he reached out to me and he asked if we could meet for coffee because he wanted to discuss something about a potential, something related to fintech. And I was pretty, it was a pleasure to be contacted in this regard because this industry has been a passion for me as a freelancer. All the payment hurdles that I used to face, whoever wants to help me with this and wherever I can be of any assistance in this regard, I'm more than happy. So what was really delightful was that he didn't reach out to me as an expert. He reached out to me as more of someone at the ground, at the grassroots level. So this speaks a lot. This speaks volumes about an organization's vision when they're reaching out to people who aren't exactly celebrities or who aren't exactly industry experts, who are just out there doing their hustle, and they want to actually learn what they need, what are the problems they're facing. That actually shows that they care rather than making all the decisions in the boardroom and then presenting the results to the audience without really caring about whether the audience really needs the solution they're offering or not. So this really showed that they want to develop a very in-depth understanding of what we need before bringing it to us. So over to you, Omer. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. And मैंने आपकी छोटी सी इंट्रोडक्शन कराई है. आप आगे अपने बारे में खुद हमारी ऑडियंस को मज़ीद कुछ बताइए, प्लीज.
Again, so thank you so much, Harun, for that introduction. I remember that coffee shop well because I walked away from that conversation with a lot of knowledge that I didn't have previously, and I So I think the thing that I remember most was the fact that you said that opening a wallet or opening a bank account for a freelancer is not the most biggest problem, because I had that in my mind. You said that actually invoicing and getting paid is the real problem. And that stuck with me. That was almost 2 years ago. That was a long time ago, but that stuck with me. And now, alhamdulillah, I have a chance to actually solve that problem, hopefully, you know. So just a quick introduction about myself. I've been in the financial industry here in Pakistan for almost the past 20 years. Some people call me a veteran, which means really, really old person. I started my career as a customer service officer. I was a really, really like a bottom of the pyramid sort of career where I started. But that was great learning for me, because I interacted over 4 years. I interacted directly with customers. I joined ABN AMRO at that time, early 2000s, and so so that sort of experience has stuck with me. I'm generally very empathetic to the customer experience, and that's what we're trying to solve for here in SadaPay. Because being in a regulated space, we're most likely, inshallah, we're going to try, but we're most likely not going to do something which is really out of this world, because we're regulated. We have to, follow some rules, and those rules are equal for everyone. Everyone has to follow those rules. However, the trick is to make sure that the experience people have using those commoditized services is something that is out of this world. And this is the kind of ethos we want to bring into SadaPay. So as I said, started my career with ABN AMRO, then moved to Mizan Bank. I was there for 10 years, 2006, when they had like 25 branches. They have, so their whole digital strategy, digital channels. Mizan is kind of known for their digital channels. It's one of the better ones out here in Pakistan so far as banks are concerned. Then moved to JS Bank. We were setting up a digital bank, a bank within a bank. That's where I met you, actually. Not when I was part of SadaPay, but when I was with JS. We were trying to do something similar there, but unfortunately, we couldn't get the licenses that was supposed to come out for a digital bank license. At that time, the EMI license came out, and I was very angry at this license. I was like, hey, man, I'm in a bank. We wanted to launch a digital bank. We were expecting a digital bank license to come. And then it was like this EMI license that came out. But, Allah Ta'ala has a way of, He has a grand plan. So now, of course, this license is very, very valuable to me and to our company. And this is the license that we're operating under. So that's the quick introduction. And again, thank you for inviting me to this show.
It's a pleasure having you here, and thank you for providing us with an overview of where you've been and where you're headed. So now coming to EMIs, probably many of my audience might know what they are, but there would be a significant part of my audience that are more into tech than finance, and they might benefit from an overview of what EMIs are and how they differ from conventional banks. What sort of constraints EMI may have compared to conventional banks when it comes to the scope of operations? And on the other hand, what are the sort of services that EMIs may offer which conventional banks cannot? So maybe if you enlighten us on that, it's going to be valuable for the audience.
Sure, absolutely. So EMI stands for E-Money Institution. This is a fantastic initiative by the State Bank of Pakistan. This is the first time that private companies have been allowed to solicit deposits from the general public. So previously, it was only banks that could go out and say that give us your money in a current or savings account, and then they could, do some business with that money and provide services to their clients. But this is the first time that private companies are now allowed to go out and say, hey, we have an account. You can call it a wallet, but it's technically an account, and you could deposit funds into it. The main difference between this and a normal full-fledged conventional bank account is that EMIs cannot lend using this money. So you can take deposit, but you cannot lend you cannot put this money at risk,
At risk.
and you cannot lend. But other than that, you can do all sorts of really innovative stuff. So you can offer mobile apps, you can do plastic cards, you can do QR, you can do bill payments, top ups. You can do local and foreign transactions on the debit card. So you could shop online anywhere in the world. Partner with local schemes like PayPal. You can partner with international schemes like MasterCard and Visa. We're partners with MasterCard, and so it's a fantastic license which allows agile companies hopefully like us to really come out in the market and really quickly start offering services that people in this country have been demanding for so long. For example, international e-commerce is such a huge problem here in Pakistan. Why do banks make it so difficult for me to shop online, especially internationally? It's 2020, and for me to call the call center and then activate my card, lots of banks still make people jump through that hoop, wait in line, then ask the call center agent, okay, open this card for me, I want to do shopping. He says, okay, how long do you want it for? This is the Stone Ages we're talking about.
Oh, yes. That's the term I use for it. In fact, I may have used it in our conversations before as well. That feels like living in the financial Stone Age. Yes.
Absolutely. So it's madness. So again, as I said, this is a fantastic opportunity for smaller agile companies to come in and start offering these products that are kind of normal in the rest of the world. And so I think that it's a great opportunity to fix the problems that are there in the financial services industry here in Pakistan.
Absolutely. And so for my knowledge, since you mentioned that EMIs are not allowed to basically loan on the deposits, on the customer deposits that are with them, or invest them in any risky venture. Are there any low-risk ventures in which they are allowed to invest? For example, treasury bills or government bonds or something
Yes.
of the sort? Okay.
Great question. Very internal question. So I'm not sure if you're privy to that or not, but yes. So State Bank, again, being cognizant of the fact that there is very little money to be made in payments. It looks, especially domestic payments. SadaPay, for example, is a company that is based on trying to disrupt this ecosystem of fees. Every time you interact with the bank and every time you want to get even something basic done, you're hit with a fee, and so, for example, think about it. Some banks in Pakistan before COVID, before State Bank stepped in and said that this has to be made free, interbank funds transfer, sending money from your account to somebody else's account instantly. Most banks on average charged 50 to 80 rupees for that transaction. Some banks, some big banks with huge balance sheets, charged upwards of 200 rupees.
Oh, yes.
Irrespective of amount, even if I was sending 5,000 rupees, 500 rupees, I would be hit with 200 rupees as fees.
Yes.
While they give out free checkbooks. You see the madness of this industry, unfortunately.
It just didn't make sense. Any sense at all.
So you are incentivizing people to go to the high expense channel, which is you have to print out the checkbooks, you have to send it to the customers. They then, they have to bring it to the branch. The branch has to have the AC and the people and the coffee and the rents. Then you hand it over to the bank. The bank on the back end has this whole huge infrastructure of handling these huge piles of paper that has to travel between different locations.
Yes.
And that is free. And whereas if I'm using my internet, my electricity to use my laptop or my phone, you're charging me a fee. And for what?
Yeah.
So we're based on this premise that if you keep your cost base low, because banks haven't been able to do that, right? So if you keep your cost base low, you can pass on those savings to our customers. So that's why we're a no fee proposition, and you will inshallah see that once we bring out our products. So for example, we're giving out a free MasterCard debit card delivered to your home. It's free for life, and it's MasterCard, so it works all over the world.
And it's gorgeous. The design is like it's the best designed plastic money that I've seen in Pakistan, at least.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And so as I said, that State Bank realizes that there's not much money to be made in payments unless you get into this whole fee sort of situation every time somebody interacts with you. So they have allowed EMIs to invest in T-bills and in government bonds, which is like zero risk investment, and so we can earn some money from there. Helps with our balance sheet. But as far as risky lending is concerned, like loans or credit cards or cars or house financing, that's not allowed. However, there are ways of becoming a separate entity and then doing lending, let's say under the NBFC, non-banking finance company regulation. You will not be able to use the funds that people give you. Those funds cannot be touched. This will be a separate entity, and you will lend off your own book. You cannot touch the people's
deposits themselves.
The deposits. However, I think that's the EMI regulation is a stepping stone for private companies to eventually become full-fledged digital banks once the digital bank license comes out. The draft of that is expected to come out this year for deliberations.
Right.
And my impression is that mid next year, State Bank will be able to give out maybe 5 digital banking licenses. Seems like these will be existing banks.
Right.
Most of them will be existing banks that take this license and then set up a separate entity.
Right.
However, inshallah, if EMIs like us, we execute well and we prove to the State Bank that we're responsible entities,
right,
and we maybe in some cases are better than banks when it comes to security and frauds and hacking and customer experiences. If we can prove that, I think maybe 1 or 2 of those 5 licenses will be given to EMIs. So we feel that this is like a graduating program that State Bank has rightly set up, because to allow private companies to come in without a track record and then take this whole full-fledged digital bank license, and God forbid something goes wrong, it just reflects poorly on poorly on us.
Absolutely.
So let's not take that risk. Let's take it step by step.
Makes perfect sense. All right. So that was a bit about the scope of investments that EMIs can make and where they can head from there. So I'm sure once a few EMIs prove themselves in the market, State Bank's regulations can of course evolve over time as well. So the regulations for EMI themselves, without the need to transition into a digital bank, even the restrictions placed on EMIs in this initial phase, because this is the first batch of EMI licensees in Pakistan, and we have yet to see what they are bringing to the table in the first place, because none of the licensees have have gone public with their operations yet. If I'm correct, please correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Okay, so yeah. It's more like testing the waters, and then rather than initially giving them more of a chance to mess up, it's like initially trying to minimize the chance of them messing up, and then in the future expanding upon it as they prove themselves in the market. Okay, So now coming to the subject closest to my heart, providing freelancers with an efficient, friction-free in terms of onboarding and friction-free in terms of client onboarding, not just freelancer onboarding, but client onboarding, because many platforms that have offered Pakistani freelancers to build clients, well, few, maybe like Pioneer was the only one that came to mind. That's relatively easily accessible. So it makes perfect sense for the freelancers or the platforms actually users onboarding, because you have to do KYC, and KYC makes perfect sense. Otherwise, fake accounts and money laundering concerns, those are very real concerns. So yeah, I completely agree with that. But when such platforms ask the invoicee, the customer, my client, to provide their personally identifiable information beyond what they're just used to providing at e-commerce checkouts, that's when there's immense friction. So with Pioneer, the issue was that if you hadn't really already proven yourself on the platform by doing a substantial amount of transactions on the platform, if you build clients directly, your clients were asked to do KYC. So I send an invoice to a US client. If they're asked for KYC, if they're asked to prove their identity, they're not going to be interested in paying me through Pioneer. And the only way to overcome that was to work on a platform like Upwork and Fiverr or freelancer.com or any platform that supported Pioneer, earn from there, and then withdraw those earnings through Pioneer to build sort of a track record on Pioneer. And once you had some funds coming in through Pioneer from those platforms, then you were able to directly bill the client. But the issue with those platforms was their immense fees. And if I have a customer that I haven't recruited, that I haven't gained through Upwork, through freelancer.com, through Fiverr, why do I need to pay those platforms their fees? When I can, like, those fees were up to 25%, 20%, and then some transaction charges. So yeah, it just didn't make sense for people who weren't dependent on these platforms to find work. And there are many freelancers who just don't need to bid on projects to find work. They've got referral work coming through. Their clients refer them to other businesses. And so yeah, for them, it just didn't work. How do e-money institutions in general and SadaPay in particular aim to rectify this pain point by allowing your users to bill their foreign clients first and foremost for their services in a frictionless way, invoice and bill them in a way that the client can very easily and quickly pay without going through hoops?
Right. No, excellent question. And I always get really deep insights whenever I speak to you about the real pain points, not just the surface ones, but the real pain point, because you're out there in the trenches every day, and you know exactly what's happening. So for us, I think our deep relationship with MasterCard plays a very, very important role. We identified MasterCard pretty early in our journey as a company which is not really a payment scheme anymore. That word sounds like so evil, scheme. But it's now a fintech company. They definitely define themselves as a fintech company. And if you look at it, if you look at their recent strategy in acquiring some really big names in the fintech space, it's very clear that they're a fintech company. So we realized that it's very, very important for us to partner with them, because they have deep expertise when it comes to fraud mitigation, when it comes to anti-money laundering expertise. And so we will leverage the technology that they bring to us. And of course, we have a really great in-house team as well. I don't know if you heard the announcement. We have, mashallah, been able to attract the ex-CTO of a $10 billion unicorn out of Indonesia, Gojek, John Shepard. And he is now working with us. to execute our plans here in Pakistan. He's very excited about Pakistan. He feels that Pakistan is where Indonesia was 5 years ago, and Indonesia now, I believe, has 6 unicorns. So inshallah, we're well on our way. So just getting back to the point, we will take the burden of making sure that things are fraud free, and all sorts of compliance checks are taken before we start moving money around. So instead of putting that burden on either the client or the freelancer, that prove yourself, prove that you're worthy of my services, right? In terms of just giving you a quick example, what we're building are payment links. And again, go back to that conversation we had 2 years ago. That's where I got that insight, that payment links are going to be a huge factor in making sure that we really solve the real problem.
Absolutely.
So if you recall, you guided me towards having these payment links that can be embedded into official invoices that freelancers can send independently. They don't have to be part of these network or these platforms that charge a lot of fees. And so you'd be able to put this payment link on WhatsApp, on an invoice, on just email, on SMS. Just send it to your client wherever he or she is. They click on that link, and a very secure window with the right kind of cues, security cues, pops up and says that Harun Q Raja has billed you $200 for the website project, right? Would you like to pay now? If they say yes, they enter their credit or debit card information, most likely a MasterCard on its own, and we do all the compliance checks on the back end, and we just credit your SadaPay wallet in PKR instantly. So just to clarify, if anybody's out here thinking that we're offering multi-currency wallet right now, unfortunately we can't do that. That's prohibited by regulation, but inshallah it will change. It's a journey, but we will definitely offer you the best currency exchange rate in Pakistan, bar none. And so that's not the game we're in. We're not in the game of hiding the fees that we're charging, in conversions and all that. We will explain what the rate is that we charge, and believe me, no matter what maths you do, it will end up being the cheapest rate possible here in Pakistan.
Excellent.
So that's one example of how we're doing it. Just we're taking that burden. Let's not put it on the customer or the client. Let's just take it on board. Technology has gone far enough for us to do that.
Excellent. And you nailed this direct client invoicing, as I had mentioned in that conversation. And you're going to be the first movers in Pakistan to capture a huge sort of segment of extremely frustrated, extremely dissatisfied freelancers who have been wishing for something like this for literally decades.
Inshallah.
If not multiple decades.
Your lips to God's ears.
Inshallah. So I personally have been wishing for something like this for most part of the past 2 decades. And eventually I had to incorporate in the US to get Stripe, and in order to have frictionless client billing. Absolutely. And I'm not going to be afraid of naming and shaming on this show the disappointments that have been Jazz Cash and Telenor's EasyPay. Jazz Cash, not the wallet, their
Payment gateway.
Their payment gateway. Since when initially the telcos decided to come up with payment gateway solutions, it felt like, okay, finally we're going to have payment methods that are bank agnostic, and for which we wouldn't really need to be coupled with a bank account, because I believe your payment gateway and your bank account, you should be able to decouple those, or at least be able to link, like even if your payment gateway is associated with a bank as the provider, you should be able to link another bank account with it, so that you have a very, like if you want to switch banks, you don't have to switch payment gateways.
Yeah.
So because that involves rebuilding integrations. That involves a lot of frictions in switching over your systems. So, firstly that, and secondly, these like these options by the telcos, they seem like a breath of fresh air. But when we apply it, when we freelancers and small organizations, startups, they started applying, I have yet to hear one experience that involved frictionless onboarding. It took months to hear back. It took signing a lot of unnecessary paperwork, and even in the end, the satisfaction, even after the few who did get it, the satisfaction in terms of integration, in terms of support, it always left a lot to be desired. And my experience with setting up my bank account for my US company, where I'm not even, let alone a citizen of the country, I don't even have a visa for the country. As soon as my organization was, my corporation was registered, it's a Delaware C Corp. As soon as the organization was registered, I was able to sign up for Mercury's online banking. By the way, you must have heard of Mercury. It's a digital-only bank in the US built for startups. And my goodness, their UX, it feels like using a modern SaaS platform. It doesn't, and a SaaS platform with the best user experience that you could imagine. So it felt like they've reinvented onboarding altogether, and I see I see signs of similar onboarding experience whenever I see SadaPay's collateral online, and it just reminds me of my experience with Mercury, and it was a pleasure. So compared to that, the torture that we have to go through over here, and the overall vibe, the overall body language, the overall demeanor of those organizations is like they're doing you an immense favor by even speaking to you about letting you use their oh so precious payment gateway if you're not already doing business in like tens of millions a month. So if you're a small timer who's just like freelancing, hustling, or if you have a startup and you're just not there yet, in their extreme short-sightedness, in their extreme being penny-wise, pound foolishness, they've, in their infinite wisdom, or rather lack thereof, they've decided not to entertain individuals and startups who may have the potential of becoming the next billionaires. So in the next unicorns. So by not providing them with efficient financial solutions, they're preventing those people from maybe becoming their biggest customers, because with efficient financial channels available, there's so much that we can do that, like at times that is the only major hurdle that keeps at least freelancers from growing into companies, into starting their own consultancy firms, starting their own agencies, because of frictions in client billing. So there's this friend of mine. I think you may have met him in one of our PAFLA meetings, Fahad. So he's a local freelancer. He freelances on international platforms as well, but he does cover the local industry as well. And he has e-commerce clients. The biggest hurdle in the growth of those e-commerce clients is lack of onboarding opportunities with payment gateways. That's like building their site, setting up their infrastructure, having the right products, having the go-to-market strategy, validating their products with the customers on Facebook through COD channels and all. Mm-hmm. They've all done that. But when it comes to getting a payment gateway, they're asked about volume and how do they achieve volume? How do they achieve scale without having efficient payment channels available in the first place? So I'm really hoping that EMIs and SadaPay, in particular, other EMIs in general, and this is like my request to pretty much the entire industry to fix their act, like the existing players to fix their act in this regard, and because it's 2020, as you said earlier as well. So in this regard, how do you plan on facilitating startups, small-time e-commerce retailers? Do you have anything in plan for helping them with some sort of a gateway-like solution to accept payments through popular platforms for which they shouldn't need to pay $1 million for a custom integration because, hey, it's WooCommerce. All you need is a plugin for WooCommerce, like every other respectable gateway offers. It's Magento. You just provide them a Magento integration, build it once, give it, let it be used everywhere. And in particular, at times you don't really need an e-commerce platform. At times, just a popular form plugin for something like WordPress, like Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms, with payment gateway integration works, because at times all you need is for customers to go in, fill the form, and the form has conditional logic enabled. So whatever fields they fill in the form, based on that, the amount is calculated. And at the end, they can click the submit button and be asked for their card information and pay. So with an integration with the likes of Ninja Forms, Gravity Forms, WP Forms, something like this is very easily achievable. And Stripe and many other payment gateways offer that. So what do you have plans for offering, if you have any plans, and in case you do, what are those plans? Would you like to enlighten us on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So SadaPay is a platform that is designed for freelancers, right? So in that scenario, we do not envisage offering a payment gateway as such, because payment gateway is for commercial websites and businesses, right? And in terms of EMIs, I think there are 6 licenses out already. I think almost all of them have at least on their roadmap a payment gateway other than us. So I think better things are around the corner when it comes to e-commerce here in Pakistan. Inshallah, that will happen.
Inshallah.
And I think there are much more smarter people out there who will execute in this space. We are a freelancer-centric company. So in that scenario, for us, the payment link invoicing feature is more important right now. It's a complicated feature to build. It's not easy. So that's why we want to make sure that we don't take on too much on board as well, and we kind of screw everything up. It's better to just be focused on one big thing rather than a lot of small things.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So overall, we won't be offering a payment gateway. However, as far as freelancers are concerned, we feel that they are an immense asset for this country. I'm not just saying that. It's not lip service. We are building our whole company around that premise, that for Pakistan, freelancers are the present and the future. COVID has accelerated the realization all around the world and in Pakistan that freelancing is the reality. I think a lot of jobs that were not considered to be freelancer friendly, for example, accounting, even in banks, if you have financial analysts or just basic accountants, why can't you have freelancers doing that rather than have people working for you full time, and of course then having to come to office and you need to have a big building and all that. Because today is COVID-19, tomorrow it could be COVID-20. Now I think people have to keep that in mind as far as business strategy is concerned. You cannot ignore it.
Absolutely.
So as I said, freelancers are something that are some people who are near and dear to our heart. In that scenario, we are building, as I said, payment links. We want to make it very, very easy for freelancers to accept payments from abroad. We want our freelancers to be competitive in the market. So when we reduce fees on them, they should be able to reduce fees for their clients. And because Pakistan is generally a low cost country, right? So if that happens, then we can hopefully increase the overall throughput. It's supposed to be $1 billion at the moment. These are the official numbers that are out there. I mean, if we make it really competitive and we attract a lot more business from abroad, we should be able to increase that quite quickly. So we're focused, and we breathe, eat, and sleep freelancers. So a lot of people ask me, "Hey, how are you different than Easy Pesa or Jazz Cash and other wallets?" My answer to them is, it's not about being different, right? That innovation is not something that we're aiming for. Inshallah, it will come. You will feel the difference. There's no question about it. You will think that this is a very innovative company. But the way we do it is we don't come up with some fancy transactions that look really, really nice, but at the end of the day are not useful. How we do it is customer experience, right? Customer delight. And so I feel that big companies, although they have achieved a lot, hats off to the wallet players in this country. They have, in the past 10 years, they haven't been around for very long. They have done a lot to move financial services in the right direction. But again, I think one of their problems is that they're huge organizations,
Yes.
and for them to be agile and nimble and to have the pulse of of the market is difficult. It just, whenever you get big, it just you actually start kind of getting removed from the realities of the market.
Absolutely.
So I think that is going to be our USP. We hopefully will stay humble, and we will, inshallah, have the ear to the ground, and we will always try and interact with our users. Voice of customer is something that is going to be an integral part of SadaPay forever. And so inshallah, you will feel the difference. We're very, very hopeful.
Inshallah. And yes, listening to the customers, unlike the conventional way of, I use the term babe over here, and I use it in a derogatory manner, but only for, not for those who are babe by age alone, but for those who are babe by mindset. So I've seen some veterans who are well beyond the retirement age, who are in their 60s and 70s, and they don't have the Baba mindset. Their mindset is open to seeking advice from someone they might not feel is at their level of expertise, and they're not averse to change. They don't consider lip service to their line manager as as a desirable trait to climb the corporate ladder. But then, yes, those I don't consider babas. They're simply they're well in touch with reality. But the real babas don't really have to be in their 60s or 70s. Even in many organizations, I've seen people in their 30s be babas. So when it comes to those who are babas by mindset, and वो बोर्ड रूम में बस ओ जी सर जी आपका आइडिया जो है ना, बाकी मार्केट एक तरफ, उसकी मार्केट की ग्राउंड रियलिटीज एक तरफ, सीईओ साहब के या चेयरमैन साहब के भतीजे ने जो एक आइडिया दिया था चेयरमैन साहब को, जो चेयरमैन साहब इम्प्लीमेंट कराना चाह रहे हैं क्योंकि उनके भतीजे ने आइडिया दिया था. सो उस बोर्ड रूम में सारे जो लोग हैं वो चेयरमैन साहब को नाराज नहीं करना, इसलिए ये चेयरमैन साहब आपका जो आइडिया है ना, बस यही मार्केट की जरूरत है. एंड देन जब वो उसे गो टू मार्केट स्ट्रैटेजी के बगैर लेके आते हैं, यूज कोई नहीं करता, बाद में उसे स्क्रैप करना पड़ता है, एंड सब चेयरमैन साहब से भी नजरें चुरा रहे होते हैं. चेयरमैन साहब को फिर भी कोई परवाह नहीं होती, कौन सा जेब से गया है, कंपनी के फंड्स लगे ना. सो ये जो माइंड सेट है, आई एम रियली ग्लैड टू सी नन ऑफ इट इन SadaPay. एंड पाकिस्तान में इस माइंडसेट से, इस टॉक्सिक माइंडसेट से खुद को बचाना ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए भी, इट्स नॉट एन इजी फीट टू अकॉम्प्लिश. सो आई होप कि इंशाल्लाह वी गो फॉरवर्ड विद दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ अनकन्वेंशनल अप्रोच जो हमारी स्पेशली लोकल इंडस्ट्री के कन्वेंशन से जरा हट के है. एंड अभी थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग सो मच विद अस सो फार. अभी अगर हम कुछ हमारे व्यूअर्स के अगर कोई क्वेश्चंस हैं, अगर उन्हें देख लें बिफोर वी रैप थिंग्स अप, if you're open, if you're up for it. So let's see, what do we have here? First and foremost, we have Uruj being excited about the future of fintech in Pakistan. Okay, so Kamal would like to see transparent conversion pricing, and I think ये तो already answer हो चुका है. Omer mentioned that the conversion rates, they don't aim to make money from charging you exorbitant conversion fees. They aim to make money at the moment through only very reasonable fees. वो भी बल्कि in fact अभी you're not aiming to do that in the beginning. That's what you mentioned, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. In the beginning, what we're planning to do, inshallah, to only we will not charge fees where things are commoditized. So, for example, payments, mobile top-ups, these things are commoditized. Everybody's issuing this. We will only charge very reasonable fees wherever we're creating efficiencies.
Right.
So we have to make money. It's not like we're not here to fool people. It's free now and it'll be expensive later. No, that's not. We will have a schedule of charges, but as I said, most commoditized things like an ATM card. I mean, think about it. We are sending you as you said, gorgeous. Thank you. MasterCard to your home, which works everywhere in the world for free, right? Can you imagine the kind of cost we're bearing? And it's not that we're just sending it now and 3 months later we're going to turn on some charge. No. That's not the strategy. If people are that we're free now, pay later. No.
That's great. Thank you. And Kamal is also asking if multi-currency wallet would be awesome. I don't think at the beginning it would be under your scope to offer it as per an EMI in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's not allowed.
Who knows?
Yeah. It's evolving. Kamal, aayega. It's going to happen. We'll be on the case. Don't worry.
Inshallah. And so Fahad, so this is my friend Fahad that I was mentioning earlier. Hello Fahad, thank you for joining us. And so Fahad is really looking forward to a payment solution for freelancers from us. And yes, as Omer mentioned, the primary focus is on freelancers. And if Omer would want to add something for Fahad over here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're also, as I said, one of the sessions that I had with you and your friends or somebody else, that also stuck with me. So this person, I'm forgetting his name, unfortunately, as a freelancer, he's unable to get a credit card. As I said, that it won't be under the same EMI license. That's not allowed, but we are evaluating issuing credit cards to freelancers that have been on our platform or using our wallet for some time. We can credit score you very, very easily. We know what sort of income you're getting, where you're getting your money from, and so we can meet it. So a lot of things can happen. We just have to start. We can't just have to put one step in front of the other. That's what we're
absolutely. I agree. And Kashif is asking, would there be some sort of API to generate payment requests programmatically? This can be used as an alternate to full-fledged gateway. So yeah, let's say we build a small system, a plugin that utilizes your API, where it's easy for us to have a form on our end. And when someone submits that form, it sends an API request with the right information to your system, and then your system, based on that API request, generates and sends the payment request link. Is that something that, like, you wouldn't be providing the gateway? You would essentially provide the API after, of course, any KYC that's necessary, and then we can build around it as per our requirements. Is that something that we might have available at some point?
People in Pakistan always come out with solutions very, very quickly. So I think the underlying transaction has to be something that we're aiming for, which is that you're a freelancer and you need to get paid. If the underlying transaction is that you're selling on a website, I think that comes under the payment gateway domain. And as I said, there are innovative payment gateways coming. So that problem, inshallah, will be solved soonish. So, and we love that. We love the fact that there are other players out there that are just elevating the entire market. We don't claim to be the savior of this market. We don't want to be the savior of this market alone. However, the whole EMI infrastructure, I mean, there's Kinu, there's NayaPay, there's Finja with payroll. Kinu has, this great acquiring infrastructure for retail, which is going to be great for us to leverage. NayaPay is coming out. There's
as well, I think.
Sorry?
There's SimplePay as well.
I haven't heard of SimplePay. I don't think that's an EMI.
Based, I think. But
it must not be an EMI.
Yeah.
So things are going to get better very soon, inshallah. There are EMIs who are further ahead on their journey. So we are at the in principle approval stage. We will go to pilot, and then we will go to full launch. There's a couple of EMIs that are currently at the pilot stage, and then they will move to full launch. So they're one step ahead of us, which is fantastic. So payment gateways are coming, and inshallah for e-commerce things will improve. We will inshallah try and take care of all the freelancing problems that are out here in Pakistan.
Inshallah. And on the subject of the time of the planning and the pilot phases, do you have any timeline that you could share, an estimated timeline? Because that's what we get asked a lot whenever there's a discussion on this. That when are you launching? When are you launching? Whenever I bring SadaPay up, people always ask me, "Yaar, wo launch kab kar rahe?" So if there's anything that you could share, it doesn't have to be like.
Do they say it so nicely, or there are some choice words that are thrown in there?
So far, generally, they've been saying it nicely.
No, we're definitely cognizant of the fact that we need to get our products. We're dying to get our products in the people's hands, because for me personally, I think my favorite saying of all time is by Mike Tyson, who said, "Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face," and the market always punches you in the face. So what's going to happen, I'm fairly confident, is that we have these grand plans in our head as SadaPay. We bring them out in the market, and we get punched in the face because we missed a trick, or we didn't do it right. Inshallah, of course, we're not aiming for that, but we're preparing for that. So we need to make sure that whatever we bring out is world class. In terms of timelines, the thing is that because being in a regulated space, we have these stages that we have to cross when it comes to the EMI licensing. So right now, as I said, we're at the in principle approval stage, and then we will move to the pilot stage. We're expecting the stage to come somewhere in September, inshallah. But again, don't put this recording in September or October online and say that these are a bunch of liars, because there are a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
I do want to apologize for people who are waiting. As I said, we are dying to get this product to you guys. It's no fun for us to not have it out there in the market, but there's a lot of moving parts in getting it right, and we're trying really hard to get it right. But just if you want to have a takeaway from this conversation, inshallah, in September, we'll have our beta program. It'll be very limited. So we will we have a wait list, mashallah, of more than 100,000 people already. And so we will gradually let them in. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves, our systems. We don't want anything to break. And of course, the beta program should last for about 90 days. As I said, it's going to be very limited. So it'll be out there in the market, but it won't be a full launch. Inshallah, things will go well for those 90 days, and then we will be letting people in from our wait list, and it'll be our full launch. So end of the year, inshallah, for full launch.
So that answers the first part of Owen Shaw's question, who also asked he'd like to know an expected ETA. Which quarter can we expect SadaPay to launch? So, Owen, Q3 for beta, tentative. Don't consider it as an official.
We're trying. We're really trying.
Don't consider it as an official deadline for the launch. But yes, they're trying to put it out, or put the beta out in Q3, and then by the end of Q4, probably if all goes well, we can probably expect the full rollout. And the second part of your question, Owen, was, as you said, there won't be a payment gateway, but about the payment link, could there be an API to generate that automatically? That has already been answered when it was asked by Kashif. So I'm glad that multiple people are seeing it that way, and I would also love for there to be an API for us to, because if we're operating a website, that doesn't necessarily make us an e-commerce business. It could be just us operating the website as a consultant, and as an individual freelancer, as an independent contractor.
Good point.
Yeah. So it doesn't, like, we might not be selling products on the site at all. We might be just selling hourly consultancy. They book 4 hours. The form that we've set up generates an amount based on those 4 hours, and then with the API call, whatever amount the form has calculated gets pushed to your system with the email, and using the amount and the email, it creates, and our API token, it creates the invoice, sends it to the recipient, and there we have it. So it's not difficult to implement, but yes, of course, if there are any regulatory requirements that are preventing you from offering such a service, that's a whole different thing altogether.
Yeah. So Harun, we need to meet more often. I always carry away $1 billion idea from you. So let me go and digest this one, and let's see what we can do about it.
Certainly. I'm always happy to share from whatever I can. So let's take a few more questions. We're getting more questions than I was expecting, because as the second episode of the show, I wasn't really expecting this sort of engagement, but I'm really glad people are.
That's great.
Just yeah. There are a few more questions. Fahad. Okay, no, that was the old one. Yeah. So Athar Ahmed is saying, he's replying to Kashif. It seems like it will be an invoicing platform where they'll process your invoices like there are many others in countries, but they do not plan to be a gateway. But let's hope they provide some sort of API and portal customization for agencies. So yeah, that's something. Okay. Yeah, that's a pleasure of working from home. The engagement with family, it's always whenever I'm on a call with a client or with someone else on a live session or just a chat, and at times a pet, at times a child, at times my cat would climb into my lap. It sort of adds that very homely human touch rather than the boardroom touch, and I love it.
Yeah. I love work from home. I think we are even before COVID, we were a remote company, and now that's kind of course, accelerated our thinking as well. And I think most companies now should really, really look into remote working. You could save so much money. You could save so much time and effort on the employee's part to get from one place to another. It was madness if you think about it.
True. I completely agree. And those funds can be utilized towards growth.
Yeah.
Imagine the millions and tens of millions, and for very large organizations, billions that they can save in terms of highly reduced operating expenses. And if that's spent on R&D, if that's spent on improving the user experience, the customer experience, and the lifestyle of their employees as well, it's going to be a win-win for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
So let's see a few more questions. For example, okay, so Kashif says, he expands further, if I sell plugins via sending manual payment requests, would be easier to do the same programmatically. I don't think for selling products that would fall under the scope right now. But yes, as Omer mentioned, in the future, and other payment gateways through the EMI initiative that are coming, they'd bring something like that. So Kamal is suggesting mentioning SafePay. Yes, SafePay has more of a payment gateway focus, I believe. So yes, SafePay would be a very, very good option. Yes.
I love SadaPay.
Definitely. Okay, and we have. Okay, so yes, the rest of the comments were in fact that same conversation between the audience. So I think we don't really have any further questions here right now. But hey, before we call it a day, I would like to ask any of the audience that may have been tuned in to feel free to ask any questions that you may have. This is your chance before we end this session for now. All right, it seems that we don't really have any questions, any further questions now, but hey, if any of you have questions later while you're watching a recording of the show, please shoot them over to me and I'll be more than happy to share them with Omer and get back to you with Omer's responses on those. So thank you very much, Omer, for joining me. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and it was very insightful to learn from you and to learn more about SadaPay's plans for the future as well. And again, I wish you all the best with the service. I can't wait to experience it as a beta member when you launch. So you better move me to the top of the list.
Was that a hint?
Yes, that was definitely more than just a hint.
Inshallah, definitely.
Inshallah. So yes, wish you all the best, and thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a lot of fun, and I wish you all the best with this initiative that you've taken. I think it's very important. We also have a small series running, which is called Rising FinTech, and I think it's very, very important for us to humanize organizations. You know, it's unfortunate that brands hide behind logos and buildings and colors, and we never show the real people behind the companies. And just as a parting message, as far as SadaPay is concerned, my biggest role in SadaPay is not product, it's not technology, it's not coming up with great ideas. It's just to get the right people in the room or the virtual room and give them space to execute their vision. That's all I can do.
That's a beautiful goal. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. So we're really building, inshallah, a very different kind of company that is based on the principles of openness, trust, fairness, and it's hard. It's very difficult to find the right kind of people that subscribe to that ethos. But if there are people out there who would like to join us on this journey, please go visit our careers page. We're actively hiring for 16 positions at the moment. And I think for the right person, there is no better opportunity in Pakistan than SadaPay. So please feel free to apply there, and we would love to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Omer, and for these parting words, and for inviting applicants to join SadaPay. And yes, I would like to add, it's going to be a brilliant opportunity to work with some of the best people in the industry, including Omer and their brand new CEO. And I think you recently hired the CFO as well. It was announced today, I think. Yes. So yes,
joining us. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So yes, it's an organization with immense potential. So please feel free to visit the site and see if there's any opportunity that sort of clicks with you. In fact, I referred a friend recently as well. So thank you, Omer, and I wish you and SadaPay all the best. Take care. Have a great day. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you for the invitation. Allah Hafiz.
You're welcome. So that was Omer, who graced us with his insights. And before I sign off, I'd like to discuss a little bit about the future of this show. So for now, we basically, it's just me. And it started off as an idea of just deciding to put some productive use to my my time by and my network by inviting the people I know from a vast array of different um, positions, different organizations in the industry to just share their insights on different topics, on their areas of expertise with my audience. And so far, it's been a great experience. I've received really good feedback, and I'd like to add here, if you feel like someone you know would be a good fit for a guest on the show, and people would benefit from their insights, please don't hesitate in suggesting me. If it's someone that I'm already connected to, I'm going to reach out to them on my own. If it's someone that you'd like to introduce me to, then please make the introduction. I want to make this a weekly thing. At the moment, the days of the week would be flexible, but eventually I'd want to assign a fixed slot to it so that the audience knows when to expect the show. And so, yeah, I've got plans for it. We're gonna get there eventually, but right now the target is to consistently put out one episode of quality content per week. And so far in the both of the initial episodes, the subject was fintech for most part and freelancers, but that's not going to be the overarching scope of the show. It would be the convergence of technology, of business, of finance, of marketing, of design, of ethics, and AI is also one of my fascinations. So yeah, we're going to have some sessions about AI. In fact, in one of the next sessions, I want to talk about Fermi's paradox. Do look it up, and I'm sure you're going to find it interesting. So I'm saving a few topics for maybe some episodes where I might not have a guest available, and I might do a solo show where I'd be discussing some aspect of AI and the future, where we're headed. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to share with you before signing off. And there's something for which I need your help. I've got the ability to go live on pretty much every platform of note except for LinkedIn, because apparently they require approval before you can go live there. And I've requested the approval twice, but so far I haven't been able to hear back from them at all, let alone getting rejected. They just haven't bothered responding. So I think because I don't have my channel doesn't really have much of an audience over there. So if you could subscribe, if and only if you find my content relevant to you. So if you can subscribe over LinkedIn, that'll help improve my chances of getting the ability to go live on LinkedIn as well. And I think LinkedIn would be a venue that would benefit greatly from content like this, because it's highly relevant. It's professional content rather than more personal. So any help in me getting the ability to go live on LinkedIn would be much appreciated. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll be looking forward to having you in the next episode. Till then, take care. Have a great day, weekend. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.